So just yesterday, the Milwaukee Bucks defeated the Atlanta Hawks in Game 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals, which means they are now advancing to the NBA Finals, and the Phoenix Suns just defeated the LA Clippers in 6 games, which means they're going to the finals as well. So that means this year's NBA Finals will consist of the Milwaukee Bucks and the Phoenix Suns. So in today's video, I'll be predicting who I think will win the series. The way it's going to work is I'm going to give some reasons on why the Suns can win the series and some reasons on why the Bucks can win the series. Then at the end of the video, I'm going to come to a conclusion on who I think will actually win. But before we get into the video, I ask you to drop a like on this video as it does help my channel grow. Subscribe to my channel if you want daily NBA content. I literally post every single day. Also, if you subscribe, it'll help me reach my goal of 1,500 subscribers, which would be really appreciated. Also, comment on this video, start a conversation with me as I do respond to all of my comments. And play that intro. First reason the Phoenix Suns can win the series versus the Milwaukee Bucks is the fact that Phoenix has been a fantastic, and I mean fantastic, offensive team during the regular season and the playoffs. And if you want to beat a team like the Bucks that are a pretty good offensive team themselves, you're gonna have to score the ball at a good level. And I think the Suns team is a roster that can give the Bucks problems, and I think the Bucks will struggle to defend them at certain points because of just how much offensive players they have on their team. Because first of all, they have Chris Paul, who's a player to a certain degree who can't be locked down because his role is to get players open and dish the ball out to open shooters and things like that. And when he needs to score, his most reliable shot is that unstoppable mid-range shot. He never gets it blocked, and he's not going to change, and he's going to cause a lot of havoc, especially in the pick and roll attacking Brook Lopez. There's a chance that Lopez gets played out of the series due to the fact that Paul is probably the best pick and roll ball handler in the NBA right now, and maybe even in history. So he's going to be a big threat. Obviously, the Suns shooting guard Devin Booker is going to be a problem due to the fact that he's one of the better scorers in the NBA. And even though the Bucks have some guys who I think could match up decently against him, he still probably will get buckets just because he's that good. Then outside of their two stars, they have guys like Jay Crowder who can shoot the ball. They have Mikal Bridges who can shoot the ball and attack the rim sometimes. They have Cameron Payne who can dribble the ball and drive, and he can shoot the three at a great level. They have Cameron Johnson who can really shoot the ball at a good level, and they have DeAndre Ayton, who's not necessarily a shooter, but he's been so dominant in these playoffs in the paint as a third star for the Suns. And he's definitely going to be a threat for Brook Lopez to try and defend. So Phoenix is clearly a very good offensive team. If the Suns end up winning the series, I predict a big reason for that will be due to the fact that they can score the ball at such a great level. The first reason the Milwaukee Bucks can win this series is due to the fact that they are one of the better defensive teams in the NBA, and this is mainly due to their personnel, not their coaching. And they low-key just match up very well against this Suns team because they have great defenders like Jrue Holiday, who's great on the perimeter. He's actually one of the best in the whole entire league. They have Chris Middleton, who's really good on the perimeter. They have Giannis and Brook Lopez, who are really good at guarding the paint, and PJ Tucker is a fantastic defender on the perimeter. They also have guys like Pat Connaughton and Bobby Portis, who are at times really solid defenders. And the thing is, the Bucks actually fit perfectly against the Suns because they could put Jrue Holiday on Chris Paul, and I think he could do a really solid job at defending him. He probably can do as good of a job as anyone else in the NBA. Not saying he's going to necessarily lock him down, because I don't know if he could lock down a player like Chris Paul, but he can maybe make him slightly worse than he usually is, which are the little things that can help you win a game, and he can help him have some bad games. And on Devin Booker, I think they should put PJ Tucker on him, and I think Tucker can do a pretty good job since Booker won't be able to just easily post him up at all. And Tucker's the type of defender where he's going to force you to not only take like tough shots, he's going to force you to take uncomfortable shots. And Devin Booker can definitely hit those, but I expect PJ to force him into a lot of misses, and that can help you win the series. And in the case of DeAndre Ayton, I think Brook Lopez could do a solid job defending him one-on-one, but in the pick and roll, I could see him having some trouble due to like Ayton's mid-range ability and his quickness. When it comes to straight scoring at the basket, I think Lopez can actually limit Ayton to somewhat of a degree. Then like with other guys like Bridges, Cameron Johnson, Jay Crowder, I think guys like Giannis, Chris Middleton, Pat Connaughton can do fine on those guys. So if the Bucks are going to win the series, it's going to be due to the fact that they could hold Phoenix Suns offense to like what it usually is not. The second reason the Phoenix Suns can win this series is due to the fact that the Suns are a very, very good defensive team. If you want to beat a team that's this good on offense, you're going to have a really good defensive team, and Phoenix definitely has been that in this postseason and just overall for the whole season. This is mainly due to the fact that they have a plaster of good defenders and solid defenders, and they have a really good head coach in Monty Williams who makes very good game plans and schemes on the defensive side of the floor. When it comes to defending this Bucks team, I actually think they'll do a decent job, because on Jrue Holiday they should probably put a guy like Chris Paul or Devin Booker on him, and although Paul isn't necessarily as great of a defender as he was before, he's not a bad one to any degree, and Holiday is a very good player, don't get it wrong, but I don't think he's a player where you're going to need to put your absolute best defender on him. Just don't put a liability on him, and he's probably not going to like cook Chris Paul, but if he does go crazy against Chris Paul, I don't think it's going to be because Chris Paul's guarding him. If he goes crazy, it's just going to be because he goes crazy. And when it comes to Chris Middleton, they definitely will put Mikal Bridges on him. And I think he could do a very good job because he matches up well physically because of his length and size, and he's just a really good defender in general. And when it comes to Giannis Antetokounmpo, I'm not going to lie, they don't necessarily have a great matchup for him. No one in the league really does outside of maybe Bam Adebayo. But something the Suns should consider is maybe putting Jay Crowder on Brook Lopez maybe, and then putting DeAndre Ayton on Giannis. And I think that can work because Ayton has a lot of strength and size to compete with Giannis decently, and he's not slow for a big man, so I don't think he would keep getting beat off the dribble and things like that. But the only problem is that it would leave Jay Crowder to defend Brook Lopez. And although Lopez isn't an all-star level player anymore, he's still a guy who could score a bunch in the post, and I think he would dominate Crowder in the post. But nonetheless, Phoenix has some defenders to throw out this team, and then they have some guys like Cameron Payne and Torrey Craig off the bench who are really good defense, like solid defenders. So if Phoenix is going to win the series, it's going to be because their defense was pretty good. The second reason the Bucks can win this series is due to the fact that the Phoenix Suns are one of the better offensive teams in the NBA. And as I said previously, the Suns are great on both the offensive and defensive side of the ball, and so are the Bucks. But if you want to beat a team that's good on both sides, you have to be able to score the ball at a good level. And the thing with the Bucks is that they have been very, very inconsistent throughout the whole postseason. Some nights they look like the greatest offensive team and they look like they're so nice, and then some nights they look like they struggle to put points on the board. But if they want to beat this series, they're gonna have to be somewhat more consistent and score more points. And I think there's a decent chance that they could do that because they have the best player in the series in Giannis Antetokounmpo, and hopefully he returns to the series and is back to his old self 100%. They're definitely going to need him to come back if they want to win the series, and I know that it's unlikely that he returns 100%. So he's going to be a tough guy because he drives to the rim so much, and he like his attention leaves players wide open for threes because you have to double team him unless you want to give him a wide open layup or dunk. And in the case of Chris Middleton, he's been pretty inconsistent in these playoffs, but he's actually been pretty good overall because he's had multiple big games when they needed him to have multiple big games. And he's been pretty good, and he can space the floor at a good level and create his own shot, so he's going to be tough to guard. Jrue Holiday showed that in Game 6 versus the Atlanta Hawks, he could go off for big games if he's just aggressive more and knocking down his shots. There's a decent chance that happens in a few games in this series, and guys like Brook Lopez is spacing the floor and PJ Tucker is spacing in the corner, and those guys are gonna create more space for them to drive and stuff. This Bucks team runs a lineup of a 5-out, which means the paint is gonna be wide open unless they want to leave a shooter wide open, and that could be really hard to defend. And although Phoenix matches up pretty well versus the Bucks, we just have to see what actually happens in the game. And if the Bucks are gonna win the series, their offense has to, and I mean has to, be good. The third reason the Phoenix Suns can win this series versus the Milwaukee Bucks simply due to the fact that in this series, the Bucks' best player and superstar and the best player in the series, in Giannis Antetokounmpo, hyperextended his knee in the conference finals versus the Hawks. And although it seems like he's improving, most times you can't just return from an injury, and especially a serious one like that, and just be completely yourself. And there's still a chance that Giannis might miss a game or two in the series, and obviously that can drastically swing this weight of the series, because that literally could ruin the whole Bucks roster, since he's arguably their most important player. Not arguably, what did I say arguably for? He's their most important player. And even if he returns immediately for game 1, he might not be exactly the same, his old same old self. And that injury might affect him a little bit. So obviously, if you're versing a Bucks team that's missing their best player or versing their best player hobbled, that definitely is going to be an advantage to the Suns. People are going to call it a fake ring and like make excuses or whatever. And it's not really the Suns' fault that Giannis got injured. He's literally in another city when that happened. But if they win the series due to his injury, it's not their fault, as I said. But yeah, if the Suns are going to win the series and Giannis misses time, that definitely will be a big reason why they win the series. The third reason Milwaukee Bucks can win this series versus the Phoenix Suns is not really a basketball fact, but it's just the fact that this team looks so determined and motivated to win the championship this year. And I'm not saying the Suns aren't, because they definitely are. And I was considering even making this a reason for them. Between these two teams, I think the Bucks just really are determined, because you have to take in how much they did during these playoffs. They literally swept the Miami Heat, who beat them in the previous year, and many predicted the Heat to beat them in the first round. And then they ended up beating the Brooklyn Nets. While although the Nets did have injuries, they were still a pretty good team with those injuries, and they had Kevin Durant. Then in the conference finals, they had to beat the Atlanta Hawks, who were like clearly on fire, like when they beat the 76ers and the Knicks, and they had to win some of the games without their best player in Giannis Antetokounmpo. They actually had to win the most important games in that series without Giannis, which showed a lot of determination. So it just seems like the Bucks are really determined to win the NBA championship this season, because they know they likely won't get a better chance at winning the championship right now, and they literally came this far. I think there's a huge chance that they win the series due to just how determined they are. This is not the greatest reason, but I feel like the Bucks in general would know what I mean. Like Bucks fans in general would know what I mean when I say this team just looks so determined. Like I wouldn't look at the Suns as an undetermined team, don't get it twisted, but this team is just so determined, like with their offensive rebounds and stuff, their gritty defense, them hustling for balls and stuff. The Suns do it too, don't get it twisted. Maybe I'm tripping, but the Bucks just look like a really determined team. And I think a thing like that could help them win a series, especially when Giannis is injured, and just overall they probably have a slightly worse roster. But to conclude the video, to predict who I think will win this series, I would have to go with the Phoenix Suns in 7 games. This is due to the fact that the Suns just have an overall better roster, and I think they will win the series due to the fact that the Bucks head coach and Mike Budenholzer is a really bad coach, whereas the Suns head coach and Monty Williams is actually one of the better coaches in the league. I think that's a huge advantage. Also, we don't know how healthy Giannis is going to be in this series, or whether or not he's going to miss games, so I'm taking that into factor. And also the Bucks have been really inconsistent in this year's postseason, and losing a game or two can be life or death in this series. And I just feel like this is going to be the year where Chris Paul wins his first championship. But I will say this, if you honestly believe that Giannis is going to return healthy and he plays all 7 games at his normal self, then I think the Bucks win this series, to be honest. But since he's probably not going to play, I'm not going to bet on them. But don't get it twisted, I actually want the Bucks to win this series because I really like Giannis, and I want to see him get a ring for his resume to start being known as one of the all-time greats in history. But to be honest, I won't be sad if the Suns win, because it'd be pretty cool to see like Chris Paul get a ring. I'm just happy it's not the Brooklyn Nets, man. But to conclude the video, let me know who you think is going to win this series. Drop a like on this video, as it does help my channel grow. Subscribe to my channel because I post every single day. And I also would appreciate if you could help me reach my goal of 1,500 subscribers. Also, if you could comment on this video, start a conversation, as I do respond to every single one of my comments. And I'm out.